Earlier in my career, I worked at the Army Geospatial Center, and I worked at InQtel, where I had a lot of the geospatial portfolio. So even though I'm not in the geo world as much anymore, it's really nice to be back at an event like this. So I'm really excited to talk about the API program we've built out at VA. So I want to start with a little context on what VA is, for those who don't know. There are 23 million veterans in our country, and the VA's job is to provide them the benefits and the services that they've earned. What this ends up looking like is VA runs the largest integrated healthcare system in the country. We serve over 9 million veterans. That looks like 168 major hospitals and 1,200 facilities across the country. Beyond just running the largest integrated healthcare system in the country, we also provide a plethora of other benefits. So the VA is the nation's 13th largest life insurance provider. We have 2.6 million active home loans for veterans getting home loans. We have over 1 million veterans every year getting access to the GI Bill, so education benefits and college paid for. And then we have over 5 million veterans every year being able to get access to disability compensation payments. It's a tricky set of words, but what it really means is any injury someone got when they were in service, and you get a monthly payment for that if you can prove that injury happened while in service. And so over 5 million veterans every month get this payment, and it's the VA's job to deliver these payments. So across all of this, VA delivers some amazing benefits to our veterans, but historically what it hasn't done as well is provide a way to get those benefits that's seamless. So when I showed up at VA in 2015, this is what it looked like if you wanted to apply for education benefits. So imagine you just got out of the military. Most people getting out are young and they're getting the GI Bill, and this is the website you have to go to. First you have to find it because it's not on the VA's main website, and you have to figure out how to apply for your benefits. So over the past 4 years, VA has done a huge amount of work on upgrading its online presence, and that's a whole talk in and of itself that I'm not going to give here, but suffice to say that today, if you go to the VA's main website, va.gov, you find a customer-focused site, right? So this is no longer about the VA itself, it's about what our customers are looking for. The top 20 tasks right in front of you and a place in the upper right corner to sign in and view all your benefits in one place. What we learned, though, as we were building this out, is we know that not everyone wants to interact with VA online. Like people are going to call the call center, and mostly people know about the VA when they show up in person. And so we have to build a consistent experience across all of those. Right? So an example I think is really helpful here. So imagine you're on the VA's website and you update your address, and you hit save, and it tells you it confirmed. And great, you have your new address for the VA. And then you call the call center the next day, and to figure out who they are, they ask you your address. And you give them the address you just updated yesterday, and they say, that's not the one we have on file. And you say, well, I gave it to you yesterday. Oh, well, that's a different system. That's the online one. This is the call center, right? And the same thing would happen if you showed up in person as well, right? So we have to have the same set of data powering all these different experiences to really build the veteran experience that we need to. And so that led to us creating an API strategy, right? A single set of data. We had one set of APIs powering all these different experiences. And if we're going to be at the largest hospital system in the country trying to create a vision of how we're going to share data, there's no point starting small. Like we want to create the most valuable, secure, easy to use API program in government. So that's where we started. It's great to have a vision. Then the question becomes, okay, we got to do some work. Like what's that really look like? So some colleagues and I, we tried to figure out what to do next, and we went to In-N-Out Burger. More specifically though, we went to California. We met with a bunch of companies. Yes, we ate In-N-Out Burger, but we also talked with a bunch of companies that had done this type of API work before and figured out where to start. We learned kind of, as everyone knows, building software, you start small, you iterate, you talk to your users, and you grow. But one of the quotes that really struck with me was, build the foundation on early wins and early adopters. VA is kind of, as I started with, is a massive place, and it's really, there's a lot of pressure to be building a 5-year plan and be building all these long-term things and not to be actually shipping product. And so we took this as our motto, to build a foundation on early wins and early adopters to start actually shipping product that users could use. To break this down further, we decided we wanted to focus on 3 verticals, right? The VA does so many things. Where can we start? So I'm going to walk through a little bit on the benefits, on veteran verification, and on health as the 3 verticals that we chose as our starting point for building out this program. So the benefit side, you kind of need a little backstory on this. So that benefit I talked about earlier, disability compensation, is a monthly payment for an injury incurred in service. And about 1 million people apply every year. And what I learned as we started digging into this is that 65% of those people applying their information gets to VA as paper and fax. What's even crazier is that doesn't start off, most of those don't start off with someone filling out a piece of paper. Most of those start off in a claims management system. There are about 10 companies across the country that have these software systems that people use to be starting this information, but those systems have no good way of getting the data to VA. So most of them have a print to PDF button on them, where users print to PDF, save it to their computer, print it out, and mail it to VA, right? Like, this is crazy, because VA then scans it and puts it into its own systems. So there has to be a better way, right? So we started looking at this. We started working with some of these companies, and we were able to build an API to accept PDFs. Let's be clear, accepting PDFs is not good, right? Like, I would much rather be getting data because it starts as data, but getting PDFs is better than getting a piece of paper in the mail that takes 2 days to get here and we have to scan it back in, right? So we were able to start, and we were able to build and ship this API to be able to accept PDFs and get people to start using it. And that was last summer, and since then, we've grown we started with one company, and we've grown the number of companies using this, as well as we're working really hard to actually accept data, which is the point of all of this, rather than getting PDFs. But I think this was an awesome example of the business at VA had a problem of it was getting all this paper, and that cost a lot of money, and users were having a problem of we have to print things out and mail them. And so we were able to build a product that helped on both sides. The next example I'll give is about health data. So VA has some of the most detailed longitudinal health records in the United States, right? Some veterans who have been going to the VA for 50 years. And this data is incredibly valuable, but the way that veterans can get access to it today isn't modern, I guess would be a way to put it. Like, the way you typically do if you want access to your health data is you show up at the hospital and you get a CD or a printout of all your health data. Over the past decade, VA and others in government, CMS, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, has done some amazing work to try and share this data. And so like previously on VA's website, you could download a PDF of your health records, which is awesome because you no longer have to go to the hospital. But there was no way to be able to get access to your health records in a structured format, right? The healthcare industry is pushing really hard on a format called FHIR. And that's where pretty much everyone is going, but VA had no way of sharing that information. And so what we want to enable is users to be able to get access to their healthcare data on their own devices. And so we've been working with companies like Apple, like Samsung, and others to be able to, we built an API to be able to share veterans' health data from VA in a standard format to be able to let our users access the data in the way they're used to doing, which with Apple's is one example. They're just one consumer, but your Apple Health app on any iPhone, it comes with it. There's over 200 hospital systems in there that you can get your health data from and combine it all. And within the next few months, VA will be in there as well, which we're really excited about the work we've been able to do there. The last piece I'll talk about is veteran verification. And this one really strikes a chord with me because I think if nothing else, VA should be able to say who is a veteran, right? It should be VA's core competency on who is a veteran and who's not, and able to share that information. Like, literally, if we can do nothing else, our customers all come from a single place in the Department of Defense, right? We only have one customer acquisition channel. We should know who is a veteran. But the problem is that today, so it's not just VA that should say this. Like, a lot of companies want to give benefits to veterans. And today, this is an example at the Home Depot checkout of Home Depot gives a 10% discount to veterans. But to prove you're a veteran, this is kind of the complex thing that you have to figure out of what you have, what you don't. And what's really frustrating to me on these is some of these forms that are accessible at the bottom here, they have a huge amount of PII. One of the forms is called the DD-214. It's the paperwork you get when you discharge from the military. It has your social security number and pretty much everything you did in the military on it. And you shouldn't have to carry that form around to then show it to Home Depot to get your 10% off, right? There should be a better way. And it's funny, like, this is like the easiest stuff to talk about because there should be a better way. And it's 2019 and we know how to build a better way. And that's what we've been working towards. So another place beyond Home Depot that really wants to be able to automatically share veteran status is around job applications. So when you're applying for a government job, that's through USAJOBS, and you can get veterans preference to get preference on hiring. And today, in order to get that preference, you have to upload a copy of that same paperwork, the DD-214, to show that you're a veteran. And we've been working with USAJOBS to build out a way so that you can log into your VA account and be able to share that information automatically. And so this, this is a prototype. This isn't built out yet, but we are really excited about the prospect of not only USAJOBS, but any other organization wanting to know veteran status, because it should be VA's core competency to be able to share that information. So another thing that we heard a lot as we were talking to all these companies in, across the country, really, and startups and VCs and such, is it's not just the APIs you build, but how are people going to find that information? And how can you provide a consistent experience to developers so that they don't have to, like, it's not a one-off every time they want to get something. There's a single place they can go to find all your information. And so for us, what we started thinking of is if you're a developer and you want to use GitHub's APIs, it's developer.github.com. Right? You want to use Google's APIs, developer.google.com. Right? If you want to use VA's APIs, it's developer.va.gov. Simple as it should be. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to match what the private sector has already shown us how to do and do the same thing in government. And so in August, I believe, we launched the initial version of developer.va.gov. And this was by no means perfect, but it was a start, and it gave a consistent way for developers to find documentation about VA's APIs. As an example, though, across the top there, you can see that every API we had was actually in our information architecture, which is not going to scale past, like, another 3 APIs. So but like, that's the point, is this is an MVP. Like, we got something out there, we got some users, and then this is more of the information architecture and the UX that we are heading towards now, and I'm sure it will continue to iterate. But you can see kind of on the left side, documentation's all nested under one, and then we have a left nav. So we launched initially in August, and then in October, we added the ability to sign up for our APIs via self-service. So this is important because historically, if you want to use any VA data, it's like a 3-month process to sign an MOU, a legal document, about getting access to it. And we have a really strong belief that for test data, people should just be able to use the data immediately. And then also, as long as it's a veteran's data, and so veterans controlling who has access to their data via their own consent is really the model that we're pushing for, and is what's helped us work through a lot of the legal questions, because it's veterans' data, and if we have their consent, then we are legally able to share it. So the point I was going with, though, on that was the ability to sign up via self-service. We launched in October, and since then, this is the number of developers that have signed up. It's not a chart and a presentation. It doesn't go up and to the right. So, and this is about a week old. So we're about 230 developers so far have signed up for access across VA's APIs. A few things that people have said as they're signing up is they want to create their own applications for people to stay connected with VA. Or they want to help veterans with enrollment to VA, right? That starts with where we started this whole presentation of, it's really, like, VA provides some amazing benefits, but it's really hard to figure out how to get access to them. And so if private sector or anyone else wants to build products to make that easier, that is awesome, and I'm a huge fan of that. So it's really nice both seeing the numbers and seeing, we have a Slack channel where every day when people sign up, it goes into our feed, and it's inspiring to see different people sign up and see the companies they're from, and that they're able to start iterating on these products without having to have some 3-month conversation with VA. I guess one last story around that is, as we were talking to different companies, one of the ones we talked to, I'm not going to name them, but he told me, I can't spend any time or money integrating with your APIs, because last time VA tried to do this, I spent $300,000 of my own money and almost put my company bankrupt. Right? So like, that was the experience that we were coming in against. And then we have been trying really hard to build a modern experience where people can sign up on their own. They don't have to spend $300,000 just to never be able to actually get access, or they don't have to like struggle through this in order to use APIs. The private sector has figured out how to do this, and we're trying to bring that same thing to the VA. So I guess to wrap it up, I think one of the things that we've really learned is, this is a quote from when I was in the US Digital Service, but delivery is the strategy, right? And there's a lot of pressure to be focused on what a roadmap could look like, or like what everything, how it all should be. And I think the way we've been trying to deliver this program is to start small, actually build something for our users, learn from them, and grow it out from there. So if you want to learn more, you can go to developer.va.gov. On there, there's a feedback form that has, you can open up a GitHub issue, and that's how we handle feedback right now. We're iterating, or you can email us at api@va.gov, and would love to hear from or work with any of you. So appreciate the time.